Lynn Benson. All right. You know, superstar. Superstar. You've been involved in just a fan of baseball for a long, long time. And how'd you first get interested in baseball, Lynn?
Well, I started following it in 1932, I think it was, and I think that was the one year the last World Series Babe Ruth was in. I think I started following it. I had a neighbor named George Wilsey, and he could really tell you the averages. Go to a big league ball game in Cleveland. I used to take him, and he could tell you that everyone that come up to bat. Of course, that was when there was only 8 teams in the American and National League, and it was fun to go with him because he really was interested in baseball, knew his baseball. He started giving me the sporting news when it was like the Post-Journal now, and that's when I really started following baseball. Of course, my dad liked baseball, but he didn't have an awful lot of time because he was a real mail courier, and but he'd take us to ball games maybe some in the summer some, and which I started getting interested in it.
Then what were the teams you followed back then?
Well, I probably shouldn't hate. I started, I think, a little bit of the Yankees, but then I changed over to Cleveland. And one reason why I wanted to show you some pictures here. Oh, my neighbor, Fred Wetmore. After my mother died, when I was 11 years old, and she died from appendicitis operation. Blood clot, they didn't get him out of bed, and then she had him in bed for 2 weeks, and he kind of helped me, play ball with me and so forth. And he was older than I was, probably 5 years older, and he got me kind of started, and he followed the Cleveland Indians, of course, and of course Cleveland had some good teams at one time, and now they haven't been very good for a long time, and but I keep kind of abreast of it with the sporting news. I've taken the sporting news ever since then, when I could start to afford it.
Right.
And this is not very good English, I know, Greg, because I had some pictures here that I wanted to show you.
Sure, take your time.
I got one picture here I wanted to show you.
Sure, that'd be
right
great.
Here. When I was on the battleship Iowa during the war,
Right.
and Bob Feller came over there one day, and my sister sent me, Bill Howard's wife, sent me a dozen baseballs. Well, I lost some of them in the canal. You could play catch on the back end, and there was several guys that had been in organized ball too, and I used to play catch with them. And I had a catcher's mitt, and I heard the rest of them had gloves, so they enjoyed that. And some of them, that one book that I got, all the rest of them are in good shape. In the baseball record book and guide, they had their records in there, where they played in that one year. And boy, that kind of beat up that one there. So it's been all over the Pacific Ocean, that one book.
Yeah.
And so Feller autographed a baseball for me. I'll show it to you a little later. And that was in 1944. He autographed it. That was a big thrill, of course.
Oh, sure.
And used to go to shore, in the Marshall Islands, and the guys would holler at him and say, "Come on, Bob, open up." He'd just so easy, And then several years, in 1954, he came to the Temple Hess Abraham dinners that they had. So I came, and I had the same ball, and he put Best Wishes again on it in 1954 on it, and I got it in there. And then he autographed, I saw his 200th win in Cleveland, when he won that. And later on, he was in Randolph, and I went over there with another fellow, and he autographed that. I had the program. And he says, sure, he says, he'd be glad to, and he autographed that program. And he says I didn't do very good today. He had to have a relief help, 2 or 3 relief pitchers. And then he autographed a couple other things for me, a couple books that I got, he autographed for me. And then he came to the stadium a few years ago, and in his book, he always wished he could have been on the Iowa, because he said he was on he was from the state of Iowa, and so he see my hat that I had on, when we was up at the stadium. he wanted to know if they still had them dinners, and I said no, they did away with them, you know, because they wanted too much, you know. Don't you think?
Oh yeah.
And here's a picture of him and I. He put his arm around me. And,
Oh, isn't that terrific?
that was a big thrill for me, of course, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Me, my idol, I didn't think I'd ever get that close to it. I used to take Bill Cass's grandfather to some ball games, you know.
Right.
He was getting pretty old, and you can see his Bill's swimming pool right from our house, you know. And we see each other in church once in a while. He'll start talking about football or baseball, a few words, you know.
Yeah.
And so, Mel, he used to go to some of the World Series, and quite a few of them. And he says, if you know, I wanted to go to the World Series because I had just got out of service. And he says, if you drive us down, he says, why, I'll get the tickets for us. So I drove him down, and Bill, he was in high school then, and I have some pictures here that we took, just a few, you know, in Yankee Stadium. In them days, you could walk onto this field, you know, after the game.
Oh no.
So there was a picture of some of the statues, you know, we got up close.
Gee.
And some of them aren't very good, but
Oh, they're
didn't have
terrific.
too good a camera, but
Oh, the fact you took them.
memories, you know.
Oh, this was in 1940.
1947 World Series.
47.
Yeah. In fact, see, here's, I think I got, yeah, there's my stubs there, see?
Oh, look at that. Fantastic.
The 4 games at the Yankee Stadium, went 7 games. And,
Oh, terrific.
and
Oh, that's great. Now that would have been the Gianfrido game, right?
yeah,
Okay.
and that's where, see, we couldn't see, we sat right up over Gunfrido on the upper deck.
Yeah.
And of course, tickets were hard to get, I suppose, you know, good seats. And then that series, during the first game, we saw Babe Ruth, but we could see him with the binoculars, you know, sitting down back in the dugout with the binoculars. We could see him. He just got out of the hospital. Of course, he died the next year.
Right.
And I think I got. Here's some. I had a little car trouble, you know, just a head of a radiator heating up, you know. And that's a blimp over there.
Gee, even back then.
Yeah. And it's a crowd on the field afterwards. And, that's Trish Speaker. I think it is. Is that what it says on the back?
Eddie Collins.
Eddie Collins.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, I think Bill Cass took that picture. No, he took this next one. I'll show you a little bit later.
Oh, gee. Can't believe you can't do that now to save yourself.
There's Trish Speaker. And that's me way back in there. And Bill took this picture. And that's me way back there. I didn't dare get up next to them celebrity like that. That's Bill and his grandfather.
Yep. Oh, isn't that terrific?
That's Willard. Bill's dad took that picture.
Yeah.
Willard Cass.
What memories? Terrific. That's terrific. Tell me a little bit about, do you remember the Gianfrido catch?
Yes. See, we couldn't see it because where we were sitting, but we were sitting in the upper deck. But DiMaggio was rounding first base, you know, and then he kicked the dust. And they said on TV they show that picture every World Series, and a lot of times some ball game on TV you see it quite often. I tell Bertha, well, I sit right up there ahead there, and then we'd hear the crowd roar, you know, and we knew he must have made an awful catch, you know.
Yeah.
It was too bad we couldn't have really actually seen it, but we was right up over it. It was quite we had a lot of fun down there. Bill and his grandfather stayed at Bill's aunt's and then in New Jersey, and then I stayed at some friends of theirs.
Let me switch gears here for a second. Let me switch gears, and if you could, the book that we're trying to do is sort of deal a little bit on Jamestown professional baseball, and thinking about Celeron Park, and thinking about maybe if you have any recollections on maybe Billy Webb's Spiders, and then the first year of baseball, if you ever went to Celeron to see that first team in 1939. have any recollection of the ballpark in Celeron?
Uh, yes, I got pictures out of the paper of it. I got some. I should have got them down for you, but I got I never was a great hand to keep scrapbooks, and I think it's about the only one I had there. And I got a lot of things upstairs. And of course, the first time my dad took me in, I think, back in the early '30s, and Vince McNair, Mac McNair, he's played shortstop for the Spiders, and I wanted to come up when he spoke up there that day, real bad, but I guess Bertha wasn't feeling. She was having a little trouble, and I know there was McNair, there was Martinson, Harry Martinson. He played in them days. Of course, Hugh Bedient and Swat Erickson, and Joe Nagel.
Do you remember ever seeing Hugh Bedient pitch up there?
I think Swat Erickson pitched. I don't remember Hugh Bedient, but my dad didn't take me only probably 2 or 3 times. Mm-hmm. See, my mother was she never liked me to go to a ball game on Sunday. Well, she died when I was 11 years old.
Right.
She was awful good to us and everything, but that was one thing that kind of hurt me. But I was young, and that's the way I was brought up, and
Sunday was at home, right?
Yeah, I even used to sneak. I used to have to milk a cow, and so we're the firemen. My dad sold that land for the firemen when they were the carnival, and so they'd probably go to sleep in the afternoon, and I'd sneak up in the afternoon and try to go to the ball game. But I always got back in time, so I could. But my dad liked baseball too, so if it was a holiday, Labor Day or 4th of July or something like that, then of course at Celeron Park in 1939 when the Pony League opened, they played the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I hitchhiked up there because it was during the week, and that's when, of course, Hans Wagner was with the team, and I saw Marty Vaughn and Gus Sower and Mike Trainer. He even played then. He played third base a little bit, quite a bit, because it was an exhibition game. And I can remember they had some local players then too, Merlin Peterson from Falconer played with them, and Goodell. I can't think which one. George Goodell, yeah. He later played with the Ariels, baseball in the City League up here. And I used to go to some of them once in a while, and when my neighbor used to take me when I was a boy.
Can you visualize the ballpark?
Celeron Park? Mm-hmm. Well, it was kind of round roof, looked like I thought it looked like a barn nowadays, And of course they had the screen, and yeah, they kept it real nice. Probably like Harry Martinson or some of them would know more about how to describe it a lot better than I could, All I was interested in mostly is the ball game, Yeah.
Now they played out towards the lake, so the home plate looked out towards the lake?
Yeah, the home plate looked out towards the lake, because Babe Ruth hit, they said, this fellow by the name of Jacobson, he used to have a wrestler down in Falconer years ago. He played ball against Babe Ruth up there. Mm-hmm. There was another fellow who used to play with the Spiders, mm-hmm. and he said Babe Ruth, hit a couple of 3 in the lake up there. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have no fence there either, It's quite a swat.
Was there, when the 39 team was playing, was there a fence out there, or was it?
I don't remember no fence, no. I don't remember any fence. They might have been, sometime, but I don't remember one.
Then from 39, from Celeron, then they lost the team, as I recall.
And they went to Niagara Falls.
Right.
And then they came, then they played, then the next year in the middle of the next year, they came to Allen Park. That's where I saw Sal Magley pitch against Warren Spahn.
No kidding.
At Allen Park.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember the score because I don't have no record of that. Because I had to hitchhike. And I got there, I think, in about the 2nd inning, and I didn't get a scorecard. And it kind of always wished I could have some time to go up and Post Journal. They probably have a record of it, mm-hmm. Write up about it. It takes a long time to look through them Post Journals. I have done that, but that's one of the things I always wanted to do. It was quite a experience afterwards, you know, they were stars later on.
Now, on that team, Johnny Newman
Mm-hmm.
is on that team.
Yeah, I can name you most of them that played on that 1940 team. I think Blanchard was a third baseman. There was a Coyle who played short. There was a second baseman by the name of Lemon. And the first baseman was Frankie Heller. And the catcher was coach of football team Colgate, Offenheimer. He caught. And then they had left field Newman. They had a center fielder by the name of Hank Nowak. Now I always wondered if he was one of the ones that you hear from Buffalo. You know, his name is Henry Nowak. You know, I think he's a politician, is he? Mm-hmm. And then there's Harnick. I think played right field, and he was killed. I think he had great potential to go to the major league. So did Frankie Heller. They always thought he was going to be another Lou Gehrig. You know, the Sporting News had a write-up about Frankie Heller one time, and said that he looked a lot like Gehrig, you know, strong and so forth. And then, of course, most of the pitchers were the next year too. It was Dick Smith, Schaefer, and I think there was a guy named Pete Angel. He was with the Buffalo Bisons, Pete Angel, and Walt Balash, and Stan Rogella was a relief pitcher. He was from Buffalo. There's a few of them I can remember. Well, like my sister, Bill Walrod's wife. She was a history and English teacher at Jamestown High School, and then Lincoln before that. And she always told me, she says, you can remember them baseball things. And I had a hard time getting through school because I always had a baseball book with me, you know. and she says, if you study more about your English and history, why, you'd be better off, you know. She was kind of kidding me, you know. And later on, I realized that I did make a bad mistake. It was really a mistake that I made. I didn't study enough, and I should have. Boy, it pays off, you know. Like you.
1940 team. That was sort of interim year, right? Allen Park. That was. They just played up there before the stadium, right?
Yeah, they was building the stadium then, I think. Yeah.
Allen Park. How? I can't even. I lived there, and I have a hard time visualizing where it was.
Yeah.
It was on the where the old it's the hardball area, and right field was where the fence still is, right?
Yeah, and they had another ball diamond then in those days. There was another ball diamond just beyond it, pretty near as big as this one, but they always played on the first one, you know. Mm-hmm. And the City League used to play up there a lot, you know, in the old days.
Was there? Did they have a fence all around it?
No, they didn't have a fence. I don't think. No.
So
They had a backstop and then just a little, I think it was a little fence, you know, just on the left and right, you know, to back up.
And the only fence really would be the right field fence, as I'm thinking about it, because that was there.
Yeah.
And it had a slope down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, slope down, yeah. You remember better than I do.
Well, because I played there as a kid, but
yeah.
Was there a scoreboard?
Yeah, I think they had a small one, you know, like they do in the county league they used to have, you know, a small one there to keep just the runs I think they had. I think, yeah. It's been so long ago, you know, you sometimes forget.
Gee.
Yeah.
Tell me about Johnny Newman.
Oh, he was a one that everybody liked to see come up to bat. They always clapped when he come up, you know, just like they do in the stars in the major leagues, you know, they'd clap. It was fun to see him come up. I know I seen him hit some home runs in the stadium, you know, and it was always fun to watch him play. I always enjoyed watching him play. He was joking too. He liked to joke, you know.
Any specific home runs that you remember? Any?
No, I know most of the time he hit them over left field fence, you know.
Pull hitter?
Yeah. Because when he hit the ball, he hit them hard too. You know, he get hits, he hit it pretty hard. Yeah, he was champion when baseball. Was champion of the Pony League twice, 2 years in a row. I played. I think he was. Telling them books, I think. I'm pretty sure it does. I used to go, well, a couple of times we went to, I think we went to Olean and Bradford, I think. It was Bob Payne, his dad and mother. Yeah, and my dad would go along with me sometimes if I wanted to go. He'd take me sometimes if I teased long enough.
What about Greg Malevy?
Oh, he was You know, I always just liked to win Bigelow just to see him when he worked there, you know, because I knew he worked there, you know. And I sometimes bought something, you know, tie or something. And there's another thing. In 1938, the Falconer Legion had a real good team, and I played baseball in high school a couple of years. And this guy that played first base, he was younger than I am. He played with that team. There was Warren B, Money Rizzo, a guy from Bentley from South Dayton, Ralph Peters, my friend of mine, played first. Glenn Quaint was a catcher, and there was Ollie Strickland, and George Gackles was the pitchers, and then whoever didn't pitch played left field. And there was a Crandall, he's a chiropractor in Florida, and he married a Frewsburg girl, and I think it was a right fielder, I think was a Piazza, I'm not sure. And so Pete's mother lived right around the corner here. Well, I lived over on Water Street then, but his mother would take some of us, you know, and she always had asked me to go with her, which was nice. And she went to Buffalo, you know, when they played in Delaware Park. We won the championship there, and then went to Rochester, and they played. They got beat there because they got making a lot of errors, you know, and scouts were watching them, you know. And so in 1938, when we went to Buffalo, that was my first professional game. We saw the Buffalo Bisons play. Mm-hmm. And I can name you every one of them Bisons that played. Yeah. Catcher was Bucky Krause. First baseman was Oglesby. The second baseman was Marv Olson. The shortstop was Greg Malevy. The third baseman was Butch Myers. The left fielder was Ollie Carnegie. The center fielder was Frank McGowan. And I think the right fielder was Eddie Bowen. And a couple of pitchers were Fabian Kowalik. He'd been with the Cubs. And one of the best relief pitchers in the International League was Hod Listenby. He pitched for him, too, that night. And I always remember that because I had to sit in the aisle. I didn't have a seat. You know, we came in a little late, you know. And boy, it was still a memory. Yeah. I talked with Ollie Strickland and some of them guys sometimes, you know, about that, you know.
That's terrific.
Said they never forget it.
Now, Malevy was a player manager?
Player manager, both years that he managed the Falcons. He managed them 2 years in a row. Then he went to Lockport, didn't he? I think.
So, tell me about, were you there when they opened up the opening day of the stadium, the new stadium?
I think I was. Was
there a lot of festivities?
If I missed, no, I don't. I want to say for sure because I forget. But if it wasn't the first day, I was up there soon afterwards. Because I can remember who played then too. I think I'm pretty sure easy.
We need to hear it.
Pollock, catcher. The first baseman was Heller, and second baseman was Malevy. Shortstop was O'Neill. Third baseman, I think, was Cogswell was the next year, I think, or maybe he was the third baseman because he went up with Buffalo the next year. And there was Johnny Newman, and there was the center fielder. I can't hardly remember. I know Lurchin played the next year. He was real good. I always liked him. And there was Rapp. You know, he looked like Andy Gump. You know, he was a good pitcher, a good hitter. I think he played right field. I might be a little wrong on that. Maybe the 2 years mixed up a little there. Because there was Wayne Schreider the next year, you know, and he was a big guy. He used to put the ball over the right field fence a lot. He was a pretty strong guy. And there was McNair the next year, shortstop. And Superville. That Superville was a good catcher. But he wasn't too good a hitter, but boy, could he catch. A lot of them guys, you know, went up to the Bisons the next year or two. And of course, they didn't always stick, but they were trying out with them.
What was the relationship? I mean, when you think about it, Jamestown was Class D, and Buffalo would have been, what, Class A at the time?
It was Class A. It was, there was the highest minor league. What would you call it? The highest in the minor leagues, you know.
So, I mean, to go from
the
lowest to the highest.
Yeah, pretty hard to make a team that quick, you know, in them days.
So you must have had a good relationship with Buffalo.
Yeah.
It was all part of the Tiger organization? Is that
Let's
why
see. It seems like they were kind of independent, weren't they, back then? I think they were kind of independent for a year or two. Johnny Yockham, I know, owned them. Another thing, I think it was 1948, was when the Jamestown Falcons and the Batavia Clippers finished in a tie, and they played off. And I hitchhiked to the game, and I stood clear outside, pretty near over halfway to right field, on the outside of the stadium, to get in. what a mob they had there. And after that game, I got a ride. I went to Jamestown for some reason. Oh, I wanted to get a paper, and I went to Jamestown, and I think I got a ride with some guy. And I went into the humidor, and there was Johnny Yocum in there. And he was going to go the next morning to drive straight through the night and go to Boston when Boston and Cleveland were finishing a tie for the American League, you know. They had the playoff, one game playoff in Boston. And he was asking different guys in there if they wanted to go with him. And, of course, I was working, and gosh, I wanted to go in Orange kind of way, but I didn't dare. I thought, well, gee, he's out of my class, maybe, you know, or something like that, you know. And, boy, I wished I could have gone on. He was going to drive most of the night to Boston and to see that. Of course, he got arrested, and, you know, got a hotel probably in the morning, got there in the game time. That's a nice park, though. I like that park up there. I've only been there once, and that was when we had the ship's reunion up there in
Buffalo.
in Boston.
Boston.
Yeah, in Fenway Park. We saw. That's when Boston, and that year that we went, we happened to be lucky. There was Boston and Milwaukee were fighting for the pennant. They were real close. Yeah. Yeah. You know, when I was in the service, I used to like to try to. A lot of the guys, they maybe go to a beer joint or something, or have a few drinks. And if there was any sports event on, like basketball or baseball, I'd go along, you know, because I always like sports, you know, especially baseball, football, and basketball. And football a little later. How I got acquainted with football, I just went to a couple games, maybe up here to Jamestown High School before I went into service. And when I got back from in the service, you know, I had enough points to get out, but I couldn't. I was a yeoman, so they sent me to Great Lakes to make up discharge papers for officers. Back in Governor Stasson's paper made out next desk to me, and so after I got up there, I thought, gee, this is not bad. I can go to a lot of basketball games in Chicago. And I did, and so I wasn't so mad after a while. But I had to stay in just that winter, you know. And I went to a lot of games down there. Saw Jordan Mikan play against Bob Curlin. He was a 7-footer, one of the first 7-footers in college basketball. And it was pretty cold, so I went in to get a drink, you know. And I thought, you know, Chicago, I was always cold. And so when I was there, a guy next to me, he said, I'll give you $10. I only paid about, I think, $2 for the ticket or something like that, $2 or $2.50. And I said nothing to it. I waited a long time to see this game. The Whiz kids were about that time. Illinois Whiz kids played basketball, and maybe you wanted to talk more about baseball, though, which I like better than anything.
Well, you know, just some names of those early years in the 40s that jump out. We talked a little bit about Newman. We've talked about Malivi, Frankie Heller.
Yeah.
Do you remember any specific games that sort of jump out as really dramatic or large crowds?
Well, that playoff game in I think it was '48. I'm not sure. It must have been '48. When they finished in a tie for first place, that kind of really was an exciting game too. They had a player named, I think it was Steve Kromko. He was a lot like Newman, you know, his joke, you know, and everything. And there was a rivalry there, you know, there always had been. In fact, I think that year Bob Payne and I went to Batavia. I think I got a scorecard here from Batavia. We wanted to go out there. We drove back all that night. Maxine, his wife. Yeah. That's what you want to do when you're younger, to see a sporting event, you know. Sure. Yeah, that kind of jumped out. Of course, it was a thrill to see a new stadium down here, too, you know. Nothing like that around here, you know. You've been to. In fact, it was better than, I thought, than Offerman Stadium was the first one where I went in '38. Mm-hmm. And then they had the Memorial Stadium, you know. The rock pile, they call it.
The rock pile, yeah, absolutely. Nellie Fox, did you ever see him play here in Jamestown?
I saw him play once, I think, and you know, I couldn't find his name in this record book, and I thought he played during the war, and he didn't. I even went up to see Jim Riggs, about it. He couldn't find it. And, I got to looking through them books again, and there it was. And I think it was about two years after, about 49, 48, 49. I think I found his name in there somewhere. He was quite a ball player, though. He really played. You probably remember Pete Rose, the way he played ball, in a way.
Yeah.
He played to win. He probably wasn't maybe as, what do you want to call it, as aggressive maybe as Rose was, because I think sometimes Rose was maybe a little too aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
But, one time I was talking with a person, and they said, who would be the first ball player you'd have on your team? And I said, Pete Rose. I said, I never liked him, but he'd be my first ball player I'd have on my team, because he played to win.
Oh, terrific. Absolutely terrific.
She didn't like, because she never liked him, Well, I didn't like him either very well, but he was a good ball player.
And a winner.
Winner, yeah.
And a winner. What other names kind of jump out at you as kind of people who made, you can think of as an impact ball player during those?
In baseball?
Baseball, yeah.
Well, of course, the Yankees had a lot of players that were really good. I mean, they all played together. I think that's why they probably won a lot.
Thinking perhaps maybe in the Falcons.
In the Falcons?
Team, talk about Elmer Weinscheider. How about George Lurchin?
Lurchin? Yeah, he was a good ball player. He was a very fast and good outfielder, and he was a left-handed hitter, and he was a good hitter and a good base runner. All around ball player, yeah. Always, he was with Detroit for a little while, but not very long, I don't think. Now, I might be wrong on that, because I looked for his name. And, Johnny O'Neill was a good ball player, too. He played for the Phillies a year or two, didn't he? And, yeah.
Clem Kishort, do you remember him?
Clem Kishort, yeah. Didn't he marry a girl right up here in Faulkner, yeah. Yeah, he was a good shortstop. You found some there, didn't you?
Well, I go back, I'm only 44, and
oh,
so
yeah.
don't quite go back that far.
Yeah, good, yeah.
We have an interesting interview. Shork has died, but they did an interview of him before he died, which is very interesting on Jamestown.
Maybe I'm saying things I shouldn't hear on here.
Not
Greg,
at all. This is very fascinating. Joe Ginsberg.
Yeah, you see, he played, I think, during the war.
44.
And Bob and Maxine used to tell me a lot about him. And they said he was with the Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
He was a good hitter, I guess. I don't know about his catching, but I never seen him play.
Did you follow the Falcons in the 50s, towards the end, when they sort of folded
No,
up?
not so much. I followed them, but, I'd go to maybe a few ball games, but I'd probably forget, and, I didn't follow them so close,
Apparently nobody else did either.
No. Them baseball guys will tell a lot about the averages there.
Yeah.
Right.
But their attendance dropped dramatically in the 50s.
Yeah. There's a lot of good ball players that come out of the Pony League. At one time, I think they had about the most ball players in the major leagues of any league there was.
That's right.
I think at one time. I think I remember reading that in the Post-Journal.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's a real gathering ground. And I only know this stuff because I've been doing this book here.
Yeah.
You've added a lot of information here already.
I don't know. I hope I can help you some. I love to go over and talk about baseball and stuff forth. Yeah.